Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For 1,026 days, the House of Representatives was closed to the public. Over the course of this period, appointed leadership within the administrative bodies of this institution pushed the limit on the curtailment of civil liberties and historic norms of the United States Congress. The House Sergeant-at-Arms in the U.S. Capitol Police instituted operational changes that hindered access to legislators and increased surveillance on members, staff, and the public. On March 12, 2020, the Sergeant-at-Arms barred open access to the House office building in response to COVID-19. In this unprecedented move, the public was prevented from freely entering the House office buildings to engage their legislators and redress their grievances, a constitutionally protected activity under the First Amendment. More than 1 year later, the Sergeant-at-Arms modified this protocol and instituted an official business visitor program to allow an extremely limited number of individuals entry into the House office buildings. This OBV process granted access to individuals who were pre-registered with the Sergeant-at-Arms, presented a form of identification to be checked by relevant staff, and issued a badge corresponding with the location of the pre-arranged meetings. The OBVs were subsequently prevented from moving through the buildings without a staff escort. This process, which was ostensibly predicated on guidelines from the Office of the Attending Physician to address the COVID-19 pandemic, remained woefully inadequate, poorly implemented, and chilled the ability of constituents to petition their members of Congress. These policies culminated and act as a significant obstacle, if not an outright deterrent, to a considerable number of Americans wishing to exercise their constitutional rights. Following leadership and law enforcement failures that left the U.S. Capitol vulnerable on January 26, 2021, congressional law enforcement bodies initiated or proposed a variety of programming changes that furthered the alarming trend of data collection and surveillance. At the direction of then Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore led the Task Force 1-6 Capitol Security Review, which made several recommendations to address the security issues facing the Capitol. Among the most contentious were advising that screening procedures and background checks be implemented. The review stated that as part of an effort to decrease insider threats, the Capitol should apply background checks to each holder of an identification card, a process that would deviate from the longstanding practice of deferring to employing members, House members from hiring decisions. The Task Force 1-6 report's suggestion for enhanced background checks and intelligence gathering policies coincided with a Sergeant-at-Arms initiative designed to identify threats from individuals working within the Capitol complex. Then Sergeant-at-Arms Walker testified before the House Appropriations Committee that his office had developed an insider threat awareness program in coordination with the intelligence community, Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to identify employees who lose their compass and individuals whose allegiances have changed. This policy, whether it was implemented or not, combined with Sergeant-at-Arms Walker's subsequent rationale, should cause concern from members from both parties because of numerous unanswered questions and a lack of robust statutory guardrails. Regardless of whether the discussed insider threat awareness program proposed background checks or pandemic-era visitor policies are warranted, these initiatives should not be developed in the isolation of institutions governed by appointees of majority, regardless of which party holds power. Rather than utilizing surveillance program designed with no apparent concern for civil liberties or concern for constitutionally safeguarded functions, this body must engage in a transparent legislative process that is unambiguous, protective of speech, and defend the rights of all who come to the United States Capitol. And while I know it's not this committee's jurisdiction, I did this in rules last night on the First Amendment. I did it last week in Energy and Commerce on data collection by the government. I'm going to go back to a subcommittee hearing with DHS in front of us about a domestic surveillance program. And what is in this committee's jurisdiction this place is the center of democracy in the free world, and it has freedom of movement for any one of our constituents who wants to come here. We can't lose that. And we can't have people utilizing whatever excuse they can to do domestic intelligence gathering on our staff, the press, or any of our constituents who come here to redress their grievances with government. We have to get better at this. This is the existential threat that our citizens face from our own government in the 21st century. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all, and I yield back.